Lifting. One of the easiest assignments will be lifting. It is a highly useful demo, however, it can be used for quite a number of things. What I'm going to be showing you here is the very simplest of things and uses a bit of line work that I borrowed from someplace else. Think of the examples that you might use it for on your own artwork. First off, you will need to locate some line art of something. At the beginning of the semester, I asked you to find examples of a lot of things, and perhaps you even have some examples of your own drawings, either hand-drawn or digital. If so, so much the better. For this demo, I'm going to be using this line art of a girl. Open the artwork in Photoshop. It's probably best if you try to find something that will translate into something large enough to actually get some results from. I believe that I opened this into a document window that was 8 by 8 and had a resolution of 150 dpi. When you first bring your image into Photoshop, unless it is from an existing Photoshop file, it will likely be on one layer named background and it'll be locked. You will need to duplicate your first layer in order to have something that you can work with. It is okay to leave the original layer marked background and leave it locked so that you can come back to it if something goes wrong. Here I have unlocked both and renamed the bottom layer original and left the first layer marked background copy from when I copied the original background layer. I then rename background layer as lift layer and lock up the original for safekeeping. With my layer selection set to line art, I next go up to the taskbar and pull down Select Color Range. This feature can be handy for quite a number of things. When I select Color Range, the Color Range dialog box opens. We've gone over this before, but what you should do is to select the background color or the white in the image. If you adjust the fuzziness slider, you can get to the point where you are seeing the image exactly the way that it appears in the layer. It helps if you have an image with good, clean, white background without any shading or discoloration. Otherwise, you might have to adjust the brightness contrast before going to this stage. When you set your slider and click in the white, you will notice that the marching ants now appear to be surrounding all of the line art in the layer. If you hit delete from your keyboard, all of the white background now disappears, leaving just behind the line art on the layer called line art. For the most part, you will want to isolate the line art layer and not work on it again. It can be used much like the inking line work in a cartoon drawing, or it can be used as a guide layer for doing a much more elaborate painting. Here I will be using it much like a cartoon drawing. I have added a new layer and placed it in between the line art layer and the original layer, and it will become my new background. I will release the line art layer. Name the new layer white background. Change my foreground color in the color picker to white, if not already set to that. It's hexadecimal code of 6 Fs. And then fill the white background layer with white. My image now looks remarkably like it did before, except I now have the line work on a layer of its own. If I shut off the white background layer, the line art is on a transparent layer. I am now going to create another new layer and name it Color 1. I'm going to try to approximate the color of the girl's skin in this layer. So I pull up my color picker and I choose Fleshlight color from the range of reds. Using my paintbrush tool and with the layer selection set to the Color 1 layer, I can now paint in the area that corresponds to her face and her neck. If I shut off the line art layer, you can see what it looks like with the flesh color over the white background layer. Here I've gone in and filled in the rest of her face color, being careful to stay away from her mouth and her eyes. However, if I did make a mistake, it's easy enough to correct with my eraser and not damage any of the line art because I am working on a separate layer. By turning off and turning on the various layers, you can see where you need to make changes, add and delete things that don't work. Now I'm going to add another layer and name it Color 2. At this point, I'm going to add in the color that corresponds to her lips. Now, let's say that I want to add some highlights to the side of her face and on the left side to make it appear as though there's a strong light source on that side. With my eraser tool set to fairly large and very soft, and with an opacity set low, I can go in and simply brush along the side of her face in the color 1 layer and draw out some of the color. This makes her look a little less cartoon-like. Likewise, if I wanted to add some additional shading, I might yet add another layer. In this case, I have named that layer color 3, and I have chosen a color from the original pink flesh color that was in the color picker and taking it a shade or two darker to add in a shadow along her chin and where her hair overlaps her face on the right. If I turn off my line art layer and leave it up to 3 color layers, I can see how this works. You could also see how you might go back and begin to add more subtle shade and line to make it begin to resemble a more traditional painting. That is what this assignment is going to be about. I want you to find a line art drawing that you want to use, either one that you choose at the beginning of the semester or one of your own choice, and do the exact same thing with this. And when you're all done, I want you to save it as both a Photoshop file and a JPEG file and submit it in Canvas. All for now.